This is Justin Case of America Newscape. Please join Jeff Griffin, former silver medalist, Olympic basketball player, family man, author, and transformational speaker, and myself. Jeff has joined us today, offering a glimpse at the possibility principle. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to America Newscape.
Justin, thank you for having me. So excited to be here with you today.
Hey, we love the idea that you came back to us. Why don't you please get us started with, in your book, The I'm Possible, you touch on the possibility principle to help us chart our own path.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I want your listeners to know that this book in and of itself is one of those impossible solutions for me, because when I was in sixth grade, I got a D- in English. When I got to high school, my English teacher told me straight to my face, Griff, you'll never write a comprehensive sentence in your life. And so when I got to college, my freshman English class validated all that. On day one, where we had to write one paragraph, and then on day two, they called 6 of us out of 300 to the back of the auditorium. I was one of the 6. And I go bounding back there. And I'm like, hey, what'd I win? And they're like, you won a date with the remedial English teacher. And I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, that's exactly why you need this. And so this book right here, I'm Possible, Desire, Dream, Do, is one of the greatest accomplishments in my opinion, because I was always told that I wasn't a writer. I was told that I couldn't communicate very well, and I believed it. But what's interesting is with this book, it took me 3 months to write it. I decided to write it after the 2004 Paralympic Games in Athens, Greece. And so I came home and I long read it, I guess, or wrote it, whatever. Again, I still, and it took me 3 months to get it, to do it. And then I typed it up, we corrected it, but it took me 10 years to get the confidence and to reprogram that bad programming enough to put it out there. I've learned since from Dean Graziosi that 90% of authors don't sell more than 1,000 books. And we're fortunate to be in our 3rd print. I'm excited about it. But the problem I had here, Justin, was an intro. And I'm like, what can I do? Because you got to have a strong start. If you start wrong, it's hard to get right. And so it took me a while, and it wasn't until I went to Kathmandu, Nepal, to help out with the humanitarian event that I was in charge of. And I was flying over there into Kathmandu, and I realized that most people, no, I wouldn't say most, there's a lot of people who went to Kathmandu to where they can summit Mount Everest, a mountain that was deemed to be impossible to climb. And it's interesting if you go back and take a look at the history there, the story of that debate that raged on that, hey, Mount Everest can't be climbed, it's impossible. And there were some things along the way that, validated those people who thought it couldn't be. And then it wasn't until 1954, I believe it was, or somewhere around there, where Sir Edmund Hillary and his Sherpa, Tenzing Norgay, were the first ones to summit it and come back. And what's interesting is since then, there are people that have climbed Mount Everest that shouldn't have climbed Mount Everest before. You've got an 80-year-old man who's climbed it. You've got a blind guy who's got to the top. Talk about seeing things different. You've got a young boy who was 16 that summited. And even one of my buddies who was on the all-star basketball team with me was the first male American amputee to summit it in 2017. And he's an amputee. In fact, he helped Dwayne Rock Johnson with his role in Skyscraper. I don't know if you've seen Skyscraper or not, Justin.
No, we've seen it, yes.
And so what's kind of cool is I'm like, yeah, this was my teammate. This is a guy who summited Mount Everest, where it used to be deemed impossible. And so I believe that if you have the right desire, the right equipment, and the right Sherpa, you're going to get there more than likely. And there's less deaths, there's more accomplishments. And so when I was flying into Kathmandu, I looked outside the window and there was Mount Everest just floating above the clouds like a sentinel in that part of the universe, protecting our globes or whatever. And it was just spectacular. Typically, I'm looking down on mountains, and here I am looking outside the window, and there is Mount Everest, just like eye level, and just spectacular. But what was interesting is I wasn't going to Kathmandu to climb Mount Everest. I was going there to help the citizens of the country that were pushed in the shadows, right, to come out. I was trying to help the citizens of their society come out of the shadows and climb their own Mount Everest. Here's individuals who've been put in wheelchairs, and I've mentioned before that I may be physically paralyzed, but I think most of us are paralyzed from the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. So what can you help define your mission to Nepal to help those people?
Yeah, so what's interesting about this mission is I was going over there and try to give them some tools to help them be productive citizens of society and to help them climb their own proverbial Mount Everest. And we went over there, and it was a 4-day training. We gave them some tools to, help themselves physically, to help maintain their wheelchairs. We brought in an expert on human rights, not just wheelchair rights, but human rights. And so we taught them how to even put together a resume and present themselves in front of their future employers. I keep getting those two things mixed up. But anyway, their future jobs that they were going to go to. We'd also introduce them to some relationships and some sexuality and some education. And we also introduced them to sports, of course. But what I've learned here is in this process, and by the way, Justin, that program, we've been all over the world. That program has been recognized by the United Nations. I feel it's just a great honor. But here's the beauty of it. I share a principle in this title, the title of the book. I call it the possibility principle. And I think this possibility principle is at the root of all these things that we've done, all these other tools that we've given these individuals who are in wheelchairs to help them be productive citizens of society. Now, you don't have to be in a wheelchair to take advantage of this principle. In fact, we are offering it to you for free. I call it the possibility principle or the P-squared mindset. There's a couple of benefits that come from having this principle. And so I'm just excited. I really am. I'm excited to give this to your listeners because I really do believe that if there's people who want to go further, farther, and faster in their life, to have a better life, to have a better relationship, to be better citizens of society, that if they will focus on this one simple principle, it's going to just open the floodgates of imagination and future possibilities.
Wow, what a gracious offer. I look forward to it personally.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I'd love to share some of the benefits that come because of it. Everyone's like, what's this all about? But here's the beauty of it. So if you text the word possible at 801-316-8689, we'll send you the PDF. And the PDF is based off of Ralph Waldo Emerson. I love his writings. I love his words. I wasn't too much into words when I was younger, but I love them now. And basically, this possibility principle is based off of a quote that he has been contributed to, and the quote is, "That which we persist in doing becomes easier for us to do." And we can just stop it right there. Reading is reading, writing is writing, arithmetic is arithmetic, and even if you have dyslexia like myself, you can eventually figure out the pattern, and then you can solve for the challenge and the problem. And I believe every problem under the sun has a solution, or it has none. If there be one, hurry and find it. If there be none, never mind it. And so I believe this principle right here that I'm offering to you and your listeners can help you discover the solutions. I like to call them the Superman solutions. And so the 5 benefits, I don't know if you want those or not.
Let me comment on one thing. You said that
Yes, please.
there was some beauty in something you shared. You didn't ask me to overcome. You did not ask me to overcome. You offered a solution. Solve the challenge. Don't look at the challenges as something I have to overcome. Just solve it. I'm going to let you back at it. Thanks, Joe.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And so what's interesting is part of this possibility principle will help with your mindset. And I think it 100% is mental. When I went to go to college, I went there. Somebody told me like, "Hey, Griff, it's 80% physical, 20% mental." Others like, "Hey, it's 80% mental, 20% physical." When I got to college, and I'm sure you're aware of this as well with what you've done in the athletic world, is I learned instantly and quickly that they were both wrong. It was 100% mental.
Yes.
The way we practice, the way we prepare, the way we perform, everything we do is mental. And so this P² mindset tool is going to, again, I've seen it with thousands of other people where they've been able to go further, farther, and faster without expending more energy. You can just shift that energy in a different direction, and I'm telling you, the results are just going to exponentially grow, kind of like the P², right?
Absolutely.
Double your power. So let me share with you, if I can, these 5 benefits that will come with it. And by the way, I invite you to practice the invitation that I have on that tool that I'll send out to you. In fact, I'm going to ask you to write down the quote with your non-dominant hand. And what's interesting is as soon as we do something new that we've never done before, there's always pushback. And if we can understand this concept that there's going to be pushback, in fact, part of the 5 benefits that come from this possibility principle is that you'll learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's in the struggle that we find the strength. It's in the challenge that we find the motivation. And as soon as we take the challenges away, the motivation decreases. And there's less effort. And so, 20 years ago, we used to have helicopter parents. And today they're starting to call them snowplow parents or lawnmower parents or bulldozer parents, right? Where they're just eliminating all the challenges in their kids' lives. And so now we're having, this generation that's starting to grow and are unable to deal with life's challenges. And so be comfortable being uncomfortable is one of the 5. Another one that the P², the possibility principle helps you with is to help develop a burning desire that matches your dreams. I don't know if you've ever had any conflicting desires before in the past, Justin. Especially any of them that you can think of right off the top of your head or not.
Well, I think we all have, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I have a buddy of mine who's like, "Hey, Griff, I want to lose some weight. I have a desire to lose some weight. I really want to lose some weight. I think if I hung out with you long enough, I could lose some weight." And in between his sentences, he's like, "I really want to lose weight." And then he'd take a drink from his big gulp and then say, "I really do want to lose weight." And then take a bite from his Twinkie. And so I always ask people, do you think he really has a desire to lose weight? And some people will shake their head and like, no, he doesn't have a desire. Others are like, no, I think he does have a desire. And I believe, Justin, that my buddy has a desire to lose weight, but what does he have a greater desire to do?
Twinkies.
Twinkies and big gulps. Absolutely, man. I hope people aren't drinking big gulps and eating Twinkies right now. But the P² mindset helps you develop a desire that matches with your dreams. Because if your desires are not definite and don't match up with your dreams, you're going to allow the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency creep in and paralyze you with a debilitating darkness. A darkness to quit on your dreams, to quit on your job, to quit on your employees, to quit on your coworkers, and sometimes even to quit on life. Wow. And so that first one there, the possibility principle, will help you with this coupling of your desires and your dreams. And then another one too that it really, really helps with, and I'm just going to ask you a question, Justin, and that is, what do most people associate, or the opposite of success with, right? What do they typically say is the opposite of success?
Failure.
Failure, right?
Right.
And so I've never met anybody who has not failed their way to success. And in fact, as a pitcher, I'm sure you've experienced that as well. And I think that failure is part of success. And so part of the possibility principle is to give yourself permission to fail when you're learning something new, because failures at first are triumphs at last, as long as you just don't quit. So I believe the opposite of success is to quit or to not even try. And so, you know what, give yourself permission to fail, because so often we don't even start. We're paralyzed with this fear of failing that we don't even begin the process, because, you know what, we're afraid that we're not going to succeed. But that's part of succeeding, is to fail, to stumble, to get back up, to course correct. No big deal. That's part of success.
All part of the journey.
Absolutely. And what's also interesting as well is, part of the journey, most of us focus on the end of the destination, the end of the destination, the end of the journey. We focus on the promise, and we abort the process. But it's the process that helps us get to the end, to get to the promise. And so often we abort the process because we're so focused on the promise, but it's the process that helps us progress. And part of the process is to fail. And of course, and so this possibility principle just kind of reiterates that. Whenever you do something new, there's always going to be pushback. And what I love to do to illustrate this is, the listeners who are listening and those who are watching it, if you'll just interlock your fingers, right, to where it's comfortable. Now that you have it interlocked, you look down there, and I always like to ask the question, who has their left thumb on top of their right hand? If you do, that's normal, because that's how I do it. But it has nothing to do with normal. But we all have a way that we interlock our fingers. Now, don't just change the thumbs. I want you to change the interlock of your fingers. And most people, when they first do it, they're like, there's pushback. It's weird. I don't like this. But if you go back and forth, you're like, okay, I can feel that pushback whenever I do something new. And so the impossible is always impossible if we've never done it before, because we don't know how to do it. And so when we try to chase down the impossible, it feels weird and there's pushback, and we want to go back to what is comfortable. And so this P squared mindset, this possibility principle, helps you get over the divide from what you know what to do and what you're doing. I was asked the question, if you know what to do, why aren't you doing what you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's because we're missing this this mindset, this possibility mindset. And so before we call this good, I want to share the last benefit that comes from this possibility principle, if I can. Is that all right, Justin?
No, please do.
Absolutely. So I think another thing that the possibility principle does for you is to help you discover hope. Angela Duckworth, in her book called Grit, says that gritty people are hopeful people. I like to flip that on its head and say hopeful people are gritty people. And to me, hope is the ability to reach out to the future and grab onto your dreams and bring them back to the present in spite of your past.
Wow.
Because so often we determine our future based on our past. But the beauty of it is our decisions allow us to determine what our future is going to be. We have that ability to decide who we want to be, what we want to do, and when we want to do it. And so I just think that we have it inside of us to find the solutions to our challenges. And this possibility principle, I believe, is that first step, that tool, that key to success. And so part of this possibility principle, this tool that I'm sending you, it's going to be in a PDF form. I'm going to ask you to write it down with your non-dominant hand, because just to kind of understand this concept of that which we persist in doing becomes easier for us to do. In fact, tonight, when you go and brush your teeth, I'm going to challenge you or invite you to brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand the whole time. I don't know if some of you will get through the whole thing. Some of you might have to rebrush your teeth. But it's always a fun little challenge and an invitation to remind us of how we discovered and how we developed and how we did things in the past. And a lot of times we don't even pay attention to how we develop things and how we discover things and how we create. And so this possibility principle will remind us how to create, how to accomplish that which the masses say is impossible.
You know, Jeff, that reminds me, I hate to break in it, but all champions, and champions are measured on all levels. I mean, your mailman may be a champion in what he does. The man that picks up your garbage may be a champion in what he does. He could be a champion father. But all champions savor the journey. They love every aspect of the journey, and they remember it. It's what gets them to where they are. And too many people don't. And as you stated, you have to pay attention of the path. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Interject. Don't ever apologize. Interject, my friend. I love listening to you. I love, that I'm edified by you. And I love this opportunity to come and just, roll with you. Absolutely. And just share some things that I've discovered. And Justin, I'm telling you right now that I don't know everything. I'm telling you right now, I don't know everything. And I don't profess to know everything. But the things that I do know, I am confident works. I've used this possibility principle with some of the harshest critics that I like to call teenagers and young adults. But I've learned that adults are teenagers who haven't figured it out or have stopped figuring it out and have stopped dreaming. And so this principle I just wanted to share with people to help them to begin to look at things as they can do instead of what they can't do, to help them flip the switch on seeing the opportunity instead of the challenge, and to help them reframe things. I always like to say that, my mother grew up on a farm in northern Utah. She grew up in between the Great Depression and the World War II, and she didn't see a balloon until she was 11. And she learned a lot of life lessons on this farm. And one life lesson that she learned was when she was knee deep in poop, scooping it up and trying to collect it so she could put it on the fields. And so when I was her age at 10, I saw on her computer, there's this little saying that said, challenges are like manure. They sure do stink, but they certainly help things to grow. And so for me, my little 10-year-old mind, I'm like, I got to simplify that even more. And that is, I can take my crap and turn it into a crop. And the P squared mindset can help you take that crap and turn it into a crop, to help you reframe things and see things that you've never seen before. And so, Justin, thank you so much for allowing me to share some things that I've discovered, that I've seen, and I've experienced, and I've helped master and duplicate for other people.
Well, Jeff, thank you. And I will once again ask you to promise to come back to us.
Absolutely, man. As long as you keep on inviting me, I'll keep on coming. I'm like that camel that gets his nose in there. And eventually, I'm in your recliner.
Perfect.
Your whole tent.
Perfect. This has been Justin Case and Jeff Griffin sharing a glimpse into some remarkable possibilities. Thanks for joining us. Please remember, additional information and links are provided in the videos. Read more. And to support humanity everywhere, please consider subscribing to this channel.